On this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast, we're going to talk about advertising budgets, the underutilized display advertising, and we're going to introduce our new companion websites. All that and more on this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. My name is David Farmer with Entice, and thank you for taking some time and jumping in with us here at the Modern Dealer Podcast. A lot of crazy stuff's been happening. Right now, we're looking at rolling into July. June, for a lot of dealers, have been a little bit tough. Inventory is down. The chip shortages, the plant closings, all starting to catch up with all of our dealers. That's what we're seeing. And we're also having conversations with our dealers whether or not they want to start to reduce their advertising budget. So this is probably a conversation that you're having right now with your team, with your advertising agency. And in my opinion is that, yes, absolutely, you have to look at the economics of how this is going to affect your overall profitability at your dealership, but going dark is not the answer. Making sure that you're going to remain top of mind for your potential consumers, driving traffic to your dealership showrooms is going to be extremely important. Usually what I've seen in the past is when somebody pulls back on the advertising, it has an effect that is going to take some time to get caught up. So inventory starts rolling back in. You're going to have a tough time being top of mind for your consumers. So the question really becomes, where do you want to have that advertising budgets allocated? Taking a close look at your advertising budget when times get tough is a great thing to do. Find out where you are doing well, where you're not doing so well, and to be able to kind of quantify from a digital marketing standpoint what is really working and what's not. We all know that half of the advertising budgets that we're going to be spending is going to be wasted, but it's trying to figure out which half is working. So what I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about maybe some ways that you can really look at your advertising budget and maybe reallocate some funds, take some away from some areas, maybe invest in some areas that you're not. And specifically, I want to talk to you about display advertising. Now, when we work with dealers, we find that most dealers are really underutilizing display advertising. And one of the reasons that they're underutilizing it is because most advertising agencies do it wrong. And what I mean by that is I see that many dealerships, when they create display advertising, it is a very static image, and it is something that they kind of just use over and over and over, use it for months at a time. They try to cram a ton of information in that one small display advertisement, and they only have one or two, or maybe three different variations of that display ad. So of course, you're going to reach ad fatigue super fast, and those advertisements are not going to be effective. What I also see is many dealerships don't have the proper tracking mechanisms in place to quantify the success of display advertisements. So what I want to talk about today is some things that you can do at your dealership to keep your display advertising fresh, and maybe spend a little bit of time in understanding what display advertising is. So with that said, now before we get rolling, let me just take a second and get my sip of coffee in here today. Nice fresh cup of a dark roast Starbucks Keurig coffee, one of my favorite things. All right, so let's dig into display advertising. Now, if you've been a faithful Modern Dealer Podcast listener, watcher, we're actually coming up on our 2-year anniversary We launched this thing back in 2019, the week just prior to July 4th weekend, and we're about there right now. Episode 001, I was actually listening to that on the way into the office this morning, talking about Google My Business. Great episode. If you haven't watched it, please do me a favor. Go back, check it out. Modern Dealer Podcast, episode 001, some great information about Google My Business. All right. Display advertising. One of the reasons I bring that up, and I'm not sure what episode it is, but I want to say somewhere maybe in the 20s, maybe in the 30s, we spent a little bit of time talking about display advertising and kind of the history of display advertising, and actually shared some early examples of a display advertising campaign by AT&T, which was really some of the very first paid display advertising available through the Google AdSense platform. So Google really is, as we know, the 800-pound gorilla in the space when it comes to digital marketing. And for display marketing, search engine marketing with text ads, both of those areas, there really isn't a better place, in my opinion, than Google. They have the history since the, mid-2000s, when display advertising has really been something that has been an effective way to advertise. And in basic sense, display advertising is the ability to show image ads to consumers when they visit different websites on the internet. Now, kind of the mechanisms of the way that this works, Google has this thing called AdSense. So if you, for example, have a website, let's say it's a blog or it is some type of content that you have monthly visitors coming to your website, you have the opportunity to sell advertising space on that page. This is going to be exactly the same mechanism that's going to be in place and utilized by the big content delivery companies in the automotive space, whether that's Auto Trader, Cars.com, KBB. All of these websites have ad placements that are available for you to place ads. Now, many of these websites, they have their own private marketplaces, and many of you dealers are placing ads through them directly. But most, if not all, also open up those ad placements to the marketplace, to Google, to be able to put ads programmatically in those spots. So, of course, whether it's Cars.com or Auto Trader or Kelley Blue Book or any large third-party site, they are going to be able to generate a much higher revenue if they can sell those placements themselves. There's a higher value proposition, and they don't have to share any of the revenue with Google. But in times that they do not have the opportunity to put the placements, they can kind of backfill that through the Google AdSense platform. And that's where we come in. So us, as an advertiser, as a technology provider in the automotive space, we work directly with the Google marketing platform, which really is kind of the enterprise level tool set that's available from Google to large advertisers. We've taken this platform and we've built some specific technology that allows us to create dynamic display advertisements that can be placed through the Google marketing platform, ultimately allowing us to place bids to put our dealers' ads on websites such as Auto Trader, Cars.com, Kelley Blue Book. Now, I'm mentioning those large automotive content platforms because that's really where ideally we'd love to have our ads show up, because we're going to show them to car shoppers. But there's also some other really cool ways that you can leverage display advertising to show your display ads to in-market consumers. So How this works is Google has the ability to track online activities. Now, there's going to be a lot of changes that's going on right now with iOS 14, with what's happening with Facebook and privacy, but Google still has a vast amount of data. And a lot of times it's very anonymized data, but it's still online shopping behavior. Maybe it's not going to be tracked down to an individual person that can be associated with a social security number or physical address, but we can track that individual shopping behavior to an individual cookie that can be tied to additional cookies cross devices. And what that allows us to do then is to have Google identify people by utilizing that cookie tracking data and find out if that customer is in the market for purchasing a new vehicle. Of course, they have the ability to look at data across, many different dimensions, a lot of different indices to be able to identify, hey, this is an in-market customer based on all the information that we can see the customer searching. Once we identify that customer as an in-market consumer, then we can put that customer into a in-market audience. That in-market audience is one of the ways that we use to be able to target consumers as they go to different sites on the internet. Now, with the internet, of course, there's millions of sites all across the world, and since it's digital, it's always going to be accessible to millions of consumers, millions of people across the world. But what we want to be able to do is make sure that we're targeting consumers that would be interested in products that you sell. So your PMA, your market area, we want to make sure that we're going to geo-fence or geolocate your advertisements just to consumers that are in your particular market. And then we can also segment those in-market consumers based on what types of vehicles that they're looking for. And then we can target your ads not only on car-related sites, but non-car related sites. So if that in-market consumer is going to Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, or they're going to the local news station, a weather channel, if they're doing a research on any one of the research sites, many of those sites have the ability for us to be able to place display ads to consumers that are in that target market audience. So this is where it really starts to get cool. So now we can identify the right people on the right sites, and we can target our ads to those consumers. So, so a lot of it's already in place for us to be able to do that. Now, the way that it's going to work for us is not only are we going to target in-market consumers, but we have other ways to be able to target customers that are going to be important for you to be able to target. And one way that we do that is we take your consumers and your data from your CRM, and we can anonymize that information. We can merge that with the Google data, also do it with the Facebook data, and then we can do a customer match from a consumer on a list to an identified online cookie or device that we can target with your ads. So we can target your consumers, and we can do a lookalike audience targeting based on that. Another thing that we can do is we can pixel your site with the Entice Pixel, which would take anybody that visits your dealership website and maybe does certain behaviors on your site. Maybe converts to a lead, maybe doesn't convert to a lead, maybe visits a VDP or an SRP, and we can include or exclude consumers based on different strategies on how we want to create these audiences to be able to present display ads to those consumers. So now with that information in place, we have display ads, we have our technology that we built, some really cool display technology to automatically sync, to be able to get fresh content out to your consumers. So we're going to look at some of those examples in just a minute here. But then we can identify who we want to present these ads to and now where we want to. And that includes the Google Display Network plus a couple others. It's going to represent in excess of 2 million different websites that we have the availability to put your ads on, and then only 2 people that are in a geo-targeted area, making sure that we're not wasting any impressions or any of your marketing dollars to New York if you're selling cars in California. So now what I want to do is let's talk a little bit about the creative content. Now, with automotive dealers, really focusing on variable operations. So let's look at sales. Not really going to be talking about service or fixed operations, advertising, really focusing on variable and sales and new vehicle dealers. However, all of these strategies will work extremely well to be able to push this over to independent used dealers as well. Primarily speaking, the strategies we're going to be talking about new car dealers for sales-related advertisements. So I'm going to do is let me share my screen real quick here. I'm going to pull up one of our dealers that we're doing some display advertising for right now, and this display advertising that we're looking at right here is what we call our SRP advertising, search results page advertising. It's going to feature our $25 Visa test drive offer. Now, for this type of ad, what we do is we're going to capture customers that visit your dealership website, and for customers that do not convert into a lead, so non-converted website visitors, we're going to retarget those customers with these SRP retargeting ads as long as they made it to an SRP on your dealership website. So if they make it to an SRP on your dealership website, our Entice Pixel is going to track the models that the customer is looking at on your dealership's website. So if you are a Honda dealer, if they've looked at an Accord, they've looked at a Civic, we're going to feature those vehicles in these ad units themselves. We're also going to bring in the Visa Reward Card offer. So that's going to be the enticement of why they should click this ad. Another thing you might notice is that we've kind of built this template to look as though it is a social media post. Like it's a Facebook post with how many people's liked it and shared it and so on. And one of the things that we found and one strategy that we've created is to be able to take this type of type of advertisement that we would be showing on the Facebook marketing platform, and we can extend it to the Google marketing platform and still have that same feel and that same look. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up a live version of these ads. And you can see that we bring in some nice animation. We got multiple different beauty shots. That's incorporated with these ads. And then if a customer clicks on this ad, what we're going to find is we're going to bring that customer right back to the SRP that they were on. So if they're going to click an HRV advertisement, we're going to bring them back to an HRV search results page. You're going to be able to see all of your HRVs that you have in stock. And another thing that we do is when a customer clicks on that, and when we build out these display advertisements, we tie in automated dynamic UTM codes. The automated dynamic UTM codes allow us to track what display advertisements a consumer clicked on to get to your dealership website. So that information is going to automatically funnel right to your dealership's Google Analytics. So you'll be able to see SRP retargeting from Entice and an HRV as that offer. And all that information, again, is going to go right to Google Analytics. And we have a very structured approach to all the UTM codes that we're going to use. So you can look at all of the Entice display advertisements. You can look at all the Entice SRP advertisements. And then you can break each one down to the content that's in each one of these ads to see the overall effect of these ads. So a great way to keep your display advertisements fresh and to be able to provide good information to quantify the success, or at least one way. I'm going to show you something else that's going to blow your mind on how else we can quantify the success of display advertisements a little bit later in the podcast. Just check the, okay, we're 19 minutes in on the Modern Dealer podcast clock here. I'm going to take another sip of my dark roast coffee, if you don't mind. All right, let's take this next step here. Jumping back into these samples, I'm going to bring up the next sample that we have. We call these our automated inventory ads or our VDP retargeting ads. The automated inventory ads means that we're going to bring in your inventory right directly into these advertisements. This is a pioneering product that we've been working on for the last 6 years with the Google Marketing Platform. There's other technologies in the marketplace right now. You may be utilizing one of them right now, where other companies will bring in thumbnails from your inventory and place those thumbnails along the display ad. One of the things that we found and we've went away from is trying to use a little teeny tiny thumbnail and having like 6 or 7 of them in a display ad isn't really sharing the gorgeous vehicles and the high quality images that you can inside a display ad. Our goal with this really is to extend that VDP viewing experience and then bring that customer back if they leave. So the way that this works, number one, we pixel your dealership website. We track VDP views. If a customer is on a VDP, we track what vehicles a customer looks at, and then when the customer leaves and goes someplace else, whether that's on a mobile device, whether it's on a desktop device, whether that is on the same device, whether that's going to AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, Cars.com, other major automotive websites, or your local news site, if we have the opportunity to put an ad in front of that consumer, we're going to put the ad that's going to include the individual vehicle that the customer reviewed on your site, extending that overall VDP view. So what you're looking at right here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different ad sizes for this campaign. I'm going to open up a demo version of these ads, and you can see right here. I know there's a lot going on right now, but you can see here on top, this is one of our larger ads, 300 by 970, but you can see this just how beautiful those images are. Now, if I zoom all the way in, you can see right there, that's a high resolution images in a display ad that's going to include 5 images from each vehicle that is in your inventory, and that we bring these into these automated inventory ads. You can see in this dealership, they got the nice, beautiful 360 booth. Another shout out to our buddy Jay Smithwick. These cars look great. So if you can incorporate these cars into your display advertising, why would you not want to do that? So this is how we do it. And then again, if a customer clicks on this ad, we're going to bring that customer right back into your dealership's website with that individual vehicle. And if you're noticing right over here, you can see up in the URL that we are also creating this dynamic UTM code. Let me just go ahead and get that completely highlighted if I can. So you can see right here we have Entice UTM medium display, UTM content, new 2021 Honda Civic hatchback, and then campaign, Entice display, boost. That's what we call our entire remarketing platform. And then we have the Google ID. So all of that information is getting passed right back into Google Analytics, providing you really an unmatched experience for customers to engage with your dealership website, but give you an unmatched a way to track the amount of activity you're getting from display ads right back to your dealership website. So if you got 500 vehicles in stock, now we have 500 times 6 different ad sizes just for your inventory that we have the availability to get consumers to be able to extend that visit and then ultimately bring them back to your dealership website. And if you are a digital savvy dealer, which I know you are, you're going to have some really cool conversion tools on your dealership website, such as the Visa Reward Card offer, Trade Value Express, Credit Score Express, and our Shopper Express technology. So if you have any interest in really learning more about all of our conversion tools that we offer from Entice, I'd love to have the opportunity to be able to share these tools with you as well. But a highly optimized site for lead conversion to work directly with our VDP and SRP retargeting. Now, you might think that's a lot. That would be enough, right? SRP retargeting, non-converted customers with a reason to click the ad with the $25 Visa Reward Card, automated inventory ads, just like we do on Facebook. Now we can do them on Google. 5 high-resolution images, tracked down to the individual vehicle, all of this data going right into Google Analytics. Man, can it get any better? Well, I'm here to tell you that it can. Now, this is our next ad set that's available, and this is what we call our targeted display ads. And basically what this allows us to do is, just like we do on Facebook, where we create a carousel ad set that includes all of your monthly lease specials. So for your Civic, your Accord, your HRV, your CRV, your Pilot, or your Camry, Corolla, Avalon, all your model lines, we take all of those monthly lease specials. And on Facebook, we create a nice carousel ad set, both in the standard size and in the stories size, but we also do that on Google with our targeted display ads. So we call this Flux. And the reason we call it Flux is because Flux actually has 2 different components, a surface layer and a component layer, and that's what our display ads for our targeted display ads do. So the surface we can have multiple surfaces and we can have multiple components. This allows us to create many different variations of ads for your dealership. We really have the ability to create 50 different variations across 4 different ad sizes, and then we can programmatically share all those different ad variations to customers as they have the opportunity to have us present an ad to them. So we bring in the surface, which is going to be like the main unique selling proposition for the dealership, the main dealership branding. And then on top of it, we're going to bring in all the different variations of the lease specials that we have running for your particular dealership. So you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like there. We can also go back and open up a actual live version of these ads. You can see how they come in with the dealership's branding, then they bring in the monthly ad special, they go back, they load up again. It's creating some nice movement, and it catches the customer's eye. We take these ads and we can link them directly to your dealership specials page. So one of the things, again, when I started out this conversation about display advertisement, we talked about some ad fatigue. We talked about the ability for the ads to not only have many different ads out there, but to make them unique, make them fresh. They're going to be fresh every single month based on the monthly ad specials, but we can also tailor the landing page experience when we have so many different ad types. So instead of just sending them to your home page and have the customer have to hunt and find where you keep your specials or where you keep the vehicle that I just clicked on, and I want to see that car, same thing. When I see this ad and I want to see more information about this special, We can drive the customer to a special landing page that's associated with this ad unit directly. And then, of course, we create that dynamic UTM code. Now, what I wanted to also do is kind of just show you our back-end system on how we make this happen. So with our Boost, or our model line, our SRP advertising, you can see we create the bottom layer and the top layer. And then inside there, we dynamically insert the beauty shot of the individual vehicle that the customer looked at. We also have the ability to create our VDP, or automated inventory ad sets. We do that all right in our back end. We create the bottom layer, we create the final image layer, and then we bring in your dealership's inventory to kind of fill out the rest of that. Also, our Flux ads is where we can bring in the surface or the base of these ad sets. And then on top of these, what we do is we bring in the individual components, which is going to be the monthly ad specials, which again is just going to layer right on top of those ads. And you can see each one of these is going to have a special landing page. And then we also append that with our dynamic UTM codes. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and, there is one other thing I want to talk about here. Sorry about that. Look at that. Me messing that up. Okay, cool. Okay, before we get wrapped up here, let me just check the Modern Dealer podcast clock. We're 31 minutes in. This will be a nice shorter episode today. So what I want to do is, first of all, take a nice sip of coffee. All right, thank you for that. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is, and this is the thing that if you've been with me since the beginning of this episode, I told you something's going to blow your mind. And this is where we can actually quantify if a customer clicked on your ad, viewed your ads, and then ultimately bought a vehicle from your dealership. So this is actually done through the Facebook offline attribution reporting portal. What we have the ability to do is take your sales from your CRM or your DMS, that listing, name, first name, last name, email address, phone number, work phone number, year, make, model, physical address, email address, profit from that individual deal. We take that with all of your monthly sales. We can upload that into the Facebook attribution reporting portal. What it is going to do is it's going to take that data and it's going to match it back to every impression and every click the first thing it's going to do is going to match those to individual users. Those individual users, then what we're able to do is look at those users and to see if that customer clicked on an ad in Facebook in the last 30 days or had an impression of an ad in the last 7 days. We can also extend that to the Google marketing platform. So we take the Google platform reporting system and we sync that with the Facebook offline attribution reporting system. And they share information between the two platforms of customers that have seen the data, seen the advertisement or clicked on the advertisement, and then they're able to attribute that view or that click to an individual consumer. Now, this is all done anonymously, so we're not able to say this customer saw this ad and then clicked on it. We don't have that type of granularity into the data. But what we do have is the ability to quantify the success of these programs. So what I'm going to do now is let me share this again. This is an example of one of our dealers. Now, this particular dealer has a budget of $5,000 per month, and that's going to be split between SRP retargeting with the $25 Visa Reward Card offer, VDP, or automated inventory ads, and then our targeted display. $5,000 budget. For that $5,000 investment, we were able to deliver 729,000 impressions, 640 clicks to the dealership's website, which had an average cost per 1,000 impressions, which is a CPM of $6.85. Now, this is where it gets really cool. Out of the customers that clicked on an ad in the last 30 days, had an impression for the last 7 days, we could quantify 35 of this dealership sales came from customers that saw or clicked on one of those 3 types of display ads. It also translated into over $100,000 worth of profit on those 35 car deals. Now we have another example of another dealership. Same thing, $4,500 investment, 648,000 impressions, 1,300 clicks, much a higher click rate in this particular dealership, but a cost per 1,000 impressions of $6.94, 33 net purchases for the month, $96,000 worth of profit generated from those sales. That profit is what we get in that list, but you get a good idea of how we can actually quantify that. So that to me blows my mind that we're able to quantify individual sales for the success. So now you have to start to kind of answer the question that we posed earlier when we first kicked off the Modern Dealer podcast today, and that is things are tight. Inventory is tight. But you still have to sell cars. Now, another thing, you still have to sell cars, right? And you might think about that it's time to pull back on advertising, and maybe that's a good idea. But you also want to think about how can you reallocate your marketing budget to be a little bit more effective? Ask yourself this question. Am I utilizing display advertising in a way that it can be done? Do I have the ability to quantify that success in traffic that's coming to my dealership website? Do I have the ability to quantify the success of that marketing to individual sales? Can I take some money from search engine marketing or a billboard or direct mail and invest it in something from a return on ad spend standpoint that is going to be as strong as you have the ability to do? I don't know who else out there can have a $5,000 investment and prove out 35 sales in any other better way. Display advertising supports everything that you're doing from a digital standpoint, from your website to your search engine marketing to your social media marketing. And we haven't even touched utilizing YouTube advertising. So I know that today we kind of did a deep dive into display advertising. I think we touched on a lot of great topics. I hope that you enjoyed some of the information that we shared today. I haven't said this yet this episode. If you've liked this content, do me a favor. Please click on that subscribe button. Click the notification bell. That will allow you to be notified by a nice little email or notification right on your mobile device that new content has dropped on the Modern Dealer Podcast channel. We will upload new content usually once a week. It's a solo mission these days for me here at in Tyson Modern Dealer Podcast. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great weekend. Until next time, I'm out of here.